and the score of the detection. CVAT doesn't understand masks. We need polygons, not masks. So we need to find. I try to find contours to convert mask to polygon using scikit. Yeah, this scikit with this function find contours, and it kind of transform it to this. But for using this function, we need a matrix of integer, not Boolean. So I try to convert it to uint8 using NumPy, and it gives us some kind of this kind of matrix. The ones shows that the detected object is appeared in that pixel. The 0 means that it's not appeared in that pixel. So for every detected object, we have this kind of matrix. But we have a problem with that because it gives us too many points. So it's good, it's more accurate, but it makes two problems for us. One is the storage of points, because CVAT serialize the points into a database column, and it's the more important thing is the modification of the label. So if you want to change and correct these points, it makes it kind of impossible for human labeler. So I try to use approximate polygon from the same package, scikit. Yeah, it's the function. And then I made a Cocoa format to import it to CVAT. So I created this part with my code, and I also added by hand another things, another data here to make it possible to import to CVAT. Yes. There is one important thing about label names. It's kind of important. The spell of the name, and all the labels that we want to be annotated. So we need to be careful to kind of add all of the labels we want, and kind of it will be mapped with integer to labels of the model. So the labels of the model are different from labels we kind of defined here. So it need to be mapped. And other kind of objects detected from our network is kind of cancelled, and we won't have it in our CVAT project. So the presentation in CVAT was kind of this at first. I did a really heavy kind of approximated for 5 points. I kind of reduced 1,400 points to 5 points. So I kind of changed and played with this and to find an optimal kind of value. Yeah, it's the best thing I could get. It's kind of like that, is you can edit it easily, and yeah, it's useful. It gives us the segmentation correctly. So let's check what's the ways to import data to CVAT. CVAT integration. Okay, there are 3 ways generally. In new version of CVAT, they added kind of, it was the button here, but they added some other kind of formats like Cocoa, like other things, and we could implement a kind of feature that we can use it from our kind of GUI inside CVAT, and it runs a process that it ends, and we have our annotations there. And the third way is using REST API, HTTP, and I will go through these three of them. The first one is the dumping and importing from CVAT there with files actually. They give us these new formats. We can dump to these formats even PNG masks and load from these kind of file formats. Yeah, it's done by hand. Be careful, yeah, it will delete existing annotations, and it's useful for getting backups. Yeah, you need to know the structure and kind of points that and values that CVAT needs. So it's kind of challenging. There are some differences in the file formats like CVAT XML and COCO. In CVAT XML, we have kind of formats like polygons, boxes, more. So our segmentations are polygons, and there is no additional data of the bounding box around the object. But in MS COCO, we only have segmentation, even for boxes. So even for boxes, we have a segmentation that which is a box with 2 points or 4 points. And also it includes the bounding box data. It's the feature is the kind of solution I want to use it. Do we have time? I explain it. Okay. So what's happening here? It's if you run CVAT, it uses Dockers. These green boxes are kind of Docker containers. They are containers. Inside here we have Django process, our uploaded files like images, or videos, and TensorFlow processes, which they got some feature for object detection. So when you click on the button, it's kind of creates kind of task in Redis queue. Why they use Redis queue? For two reasons. If when you run the process of annotations, the Django process will stop responding and it won't work. So it's kind of asynced the process. It's forked a new process, and the other thing is that you may have multiple projects, multiple kind of CVAT projects, and you want to annotate all of them, and you click all of them. You can click all of them, and it go to a queue. Next, what happens? This process asks DB the location of the frames or image, and it tells it back. Next, it passes it to this process inside CVAT container, and it has local access to files, and it's kind of updates the data inside the Redis queue. Redis is kind of a key value database stored in RAM. It's not persistence. So we have it's kind of updates the process. Say kind of 5% of the process is done, and also Django polls and asks Redis in a period of time. It asks Redis that if it's done or if it's about its progress. So after it's done, the TensorFlow process writes it's done here, and it's also called and will uncover that it's done. So in UI you see the process is done. And actually before that it writes the new kind of annotation into the database. So how this TensorFlow and Django process integrate with each other, how they talk to each other, is by this Redis queue. So it changes data inside, and it pulls the Redis about the project. And after that, it writes it into DB, and Django process can kind of have new values, new annotations asking from database. The third way is using REST API. It's good because it's independent from CVAT. You can have your code, you can have any kind of network or any code, but using a simple REST client, you can find a REST client in Python or any other languages. So and you can work with CVAT by these HTTP kind of commands: get, post, put, and delete. For example, it's a request to CVAT, get request for task ID 35. To this address, task 35 annotations. Give me annotations of task 35. It's a sample. It's a kind of JSON. It's a rectangle, for example. It gives us the points. If it's a polygon, it has more points. Actually, lines. It says which frame or which image it is. It's for the first image, first frame, and the label ID. It's a car, it's a dog, or anything else. Which this ID is known inside inside CVAT, not in your kind of model, not in your neural network. It's ID that kind of CVAT understands. So if you remember, I said that we need to map these values. And it's not controlled from CVAT. You have no control from CVAT. It's controlled from the kind of the client. The client can send a request whenever it wants. If this type of request, get is for getting data, post is for submitting data and writing data to database, put is for changing and modifying data, and for deleting data. It requires a kind of authentication for security issues, so not everyone can do this. Only authenticated users and requests can be done in this way. And there is a documentation in this address. It's a API documentation named Swagger. You can see there. And Django may close your connection if your request takes too long. If your kind of mostly post maybe or put request, because these get and deletes are fast. They don't have any kind of container value, but post and put have some value. You send like anything, but if it takes too long, make Django close your connection. So here's a comparison between these three ways. So if we kind of implement it, we need to install the dependencies and things just for the first time. And for the REST API, it's independent from CVAT. It's dependent on your code and anything you done. You done it with kind of PyTorch. You done it with TensorFlow. Anything you need to install your dependencies. The changeability in CVAT kind of needs to hack the code. You need to change the code. But in REST API, it's kind of black box. The CVAT doesn't care. Only input and output matters. You need to kind of note, be careful about this. And control, yeah, you have a kind of alert for using kind of upload or dump button inside CVAT. Here we see in the picture there is a kind of progress, and you can even cancel the process. But from REST API, no control from CVAT. You may have bottlenecks. What bottlenecks is gonna have? There are problem with the data set with images or the videos. In the case of REST API or kind of this upload button, because the data or images are inside CVAT and you don't have a local access to it. But in the case of if it's implemented inside CVAT, it's run on the kind of locally. It's local and can take the data. Portability. So it's in the case of inside CVAT, it's embedded inside. You can kind of run it in any system like before. But for the REST API, you need to move and deploy your code too. And here it's kind of file, uploading file or downloading file, and it's portable. It's okay. And the consistency, here it's guaranteed. You don't kind of need to worry about. But here you need to kind of know the format. You need to know the kind of label IDs inside CVAT. You need to know how many frames it is and things like that. Here it's kind of easier, but can be challenging too. Okay, so we will have this feature here with kind of run auto segmentation. We click on this, it's kind of run in the background, and it's say kind of it's 50% done, and we can cancel it again from here, and that's it. Spicy.
Thank you. Questions? I have question. What about some documentation on your modification of CVAT for our team, for example?
Yeah, you can find in two places, which is one my reports, my document here.
Do you update?
No, not yet, because I want to finish this new feature. And actually, I used Git and commit new features in a new branch. I will document it too, but you can kind of see it from Git log. You will see all of commits I have done, and yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, I tried to kind of document everything, even some things about CVAT and how you use things on CVAT. You can check out my document and you can see. Okay.
Yes, it will be very important. And please tell us about, for example, effectiveness of CVAT, because CVAT is quite slow on big data sets and so on. What is your vision of this problem?
What kind of problems?
No, for example, if you need to annotate very large data set, from 1,000 images and so on, or million images, which way do you use for annotation it big data set with CVAT?
You mean the time of labeling?
Not only labeling, because of a problem of usage and time of labeling, but work of this tool, CVAT, very slow with big data set.
I need to kind of do some tests on it, but also about the time of labeling, it kind of helps the time of labeling with kind of pre-annotated data, so human labelers can faster and with better quality segment the kind of image and data, because there is some kind of labels before, and they can kind of edit it or just skip it. Yeah,
Okay.
but about the things you mentioned, I need kind of test with some bigger data, so I can see what can we do.
Okay, thank you. Another questions? I want to add that our team will use your code, will use your modification of CVAT, and when you finish your documentation, we want that you share this document with our team, and maybe our participators of our team will write you about and will ask you questions using some messenger about this modification, because it's very important for everybody to quick and effective annotation, because now we're on the step of annotation of dataset from our partners from NKBVS, and they give us big datasets from real car, and we need to quickly annotate this data with our networks and so on. And next we need to visualize and upgrade this pre-labeling using CVAT, and I think work of Mohammed will be useful for this, and we will integrate this experience in our current work. Thank you, Mohammed. I write video of your presentation. Thank you. Some thank you. Okay.